Lin Sui, who has a single mother and fetus, has been having a dream lately. In the dream, there was a man who couldn't see clearly and had all kinds of intimate things with her. The man's breath sprayed on the side of her face, feeling incredibly real. Just as she felt hysterical, she suddenly arrived in the 1970s, becoming a young mother who had already married and given birth to a pair of twins. Without any experience in raising children, she had to take her dragon and phoenix twins on the island courtyard, struggling to raise them. But who can tell her why she increasingly feels that this cheap object who always looks at her with scorching eyes feels so similar to the person in her dream. 70 military wedding+island raising children+reverse reading+warm daily life+female lead is the original protagonist. Chapter 1. Opening Eyes to 70. You are listening at novel full.audio. The scorching breath sprayed in her ears, burning her whole body. She wanted to step back, but the man imprisoned her in his arms and she had no choice but to step back. In the darkness, she couldn't see his eyebrows and eyes clearly, but the presence of a man was so strong. With every breath he took, her body was scorching hot, as if it was about to catch fire. Sway sway. Daughter.in.law. The man murmured hoarsely, his thin lips covering her lips, tossing and turning, as if tracing the shape of her lips inch by inch. Here we go again, this clear and incomparable spring dream. Lin Sui was thinking about how far this dream would go today, and her shoulders were violently shaken by someone. Sway sway, sway sway, wake up quickly and don't scare mom. A woman's anxious voice rang in her ear. But Lin Sui knew that this was definitely not her mother's voice. She tried hard to open her eyes, but couldn't do anything about it. Apart from the crying of the stranger who claimed to be her mother, there were other voices ringing in her ears. It is extremely chaotic. Lin Sui's heart is really dark enough. She knew her sister.in.law, Lu Xiuyun, was a person who could easily fall in the wind, so she even signed her up to go to the countryside. Isn't this taking Lu Xiuyun's life? Isn't that what? Lin Sui has been married to the Lu family for 4 years, but the Lu family has not treated her unfairly. I didn't expect her to sign up for going to the countryside today because she was afraid her sister.in.law would take her job. How ruthless is this? Xiuyun's body, is there still life to come back alive after going to the countryside? Lu Yi is really pitiful. He never returns home all year round, and I don't know how he married such a despicable wife. What is it? The noise in her ears kept ringing, and Lin Suiren was stunned for a moment. Soon, there was a memory that didn't belong to her, desperately drilling into her own mind. She has traveled through time. Wearing it in an article called Rebirth of the Big Seven strives to be my spare tire. Her identity is the biggest villain in the text, Lin Sui, the deceased ex-wife of the big shot Lu Yi. Regarding the description of Lin Sui in the book, the author did not use too much pen and ink, but briefly mentioned the Lu family. From those words and phrases, it can be inferred that Lin Sui is a delicate and spoiled child by her parents. She didn't want to go to the countryside after graduating from high school, so she calculated that Lu Yi, who was going home to visit relatives, became pregnant with his child. In the second year, they gave birth to a pair of twins. From then on, he began to dominate the Lu family. In the 4th year of marrying into the Lu family, Lin Sui calculated to leave the weak sister.in.law in the countryside. Within a month, news of Lu Xiuyun's death came from the countryside. Uncle Lu Wenyan went to the countryside to pick up Lu Xiuyun's body, but found out that Lu Xiuyun had been stained and killed by local ruffians. He was furious and killed a thug. He was caught on the spot and shot. Upon hearing this, the parents of the Lu family fell ill on the spot and soon passed away. Leave behind the grandson of the dragon and phoenix twins who have just turned 3 years old. They were also abducted by human traffickers due to the lack of adult supervision. By the time Lu Yi in the army heard the news and rushed back, there were no living people left in the Lu family. Lu Yi found Lin Sui, who had run away with her good friend, and hired 7 or 8 people to turn her around. Then, when she was on the brink of death, he personally broke her neck, crushing her bones and throwing ashes. The life of the paper man Lin Sui was forever frozen on the day when he was 20.2 years old. And the tragic experience of the Liu family was just a condition set by the author for the female protagonist to comfort Liu Yi. Lin Sui thought of the content in the book and also accepted the memory of the original owner. Now is the third day that the original owner signed up for Liu Xiuyun to go to the countryside, when the plastic sisters came to make trouble. Liu Zhenhua and Liu Wenyan's father and son went out, with only 3 women and 2 3-year-old children at home. According to the plan, Liu Xiuyun will go to the countryside tomorrow. Shen 80, the good sisters of the original owner, came here today to tell the story and let the neighbors near the Liu family know what the original owner has done. The original owner's mother-in-law and Liu Xiuyun, both of whom were in poor health, were so angry that they took their children back to the house. Paper man Lin Sui had a hot temper and immediately quit when she was betrayed by Shen 80. She got into a fight with Shen 80 and fell to the ground, hitting her head. I belched on the spot. The forest ears of the 21st century are here. After sorting it out, Lin Sui finally opened her eyes. Sway sway, sway sway. Lin's mother saw Lin Sui open her eyes and happily hugged her. Great, you woke up, great. The mother of this body loves the original owner very much. For Lin Sui, who wore this love, she didn't know how to face it for a while. She was obediently embraced, lifting her head and looking straight at Shen 80's proud gaze. Shen 80 is a classmate of the female protagonist in this era's literature, and there are few descriptions of Shen 80 in the text. As for whether she came to make trouble, Lin Sui is not sure. After all, apart from the female lead and her big shots, there is not much description of others in this article. Lin Sui didn't know how she ended up here, but since she came, she wouldn't let things follow the predetermined trajectory of the book. Please release me first. Lin Sui spoke to Lin Mu, who was holding her. Lin's mother hesitated for a moment and let go of her hand. Lin Sui didn't pay attention to Lin's mother. She supported her dizzy head and slowly stood up, facing Shen 80 with a proud expression on her face. I don't know why, but when Shen 80 saw Lin Sui's gaze, she suddenly felt a moment of fear. But on second thought, what is she afraid of Lin Sui? She is exposing the true face of Lin Sui, this malicious woman. She should not be afraid of Lin Sui. On the contrary, she is still the benefactor of the Liu family. Lin Sui, what are you looking at? Are you not convinced? Do you want to hit me? Shen 80 pretended to be calm and looked at Lin Sui, who opened her eyes and her breath became different. She tried her best not to retreat, showing that she was not afraid of Lin Sui. Lin Sui let out a cold laugh and kicked Shen 80 in the stomach, causing her to take a few steps back and fall to the ground. Lin Sui. Shen 80's face was about the same color as pig liver. After sitting on the ground, she looked up and stared at Lin Sui for a while. The anger in those eyes almost wanted to engulf Lin Sui alive. Lin Sui sked. Raising his hand to wipe the blood flowing from his head, he stepped forward step by step and stepped on the back of Shen 80's hand. I ground it hard. The original owner was ruthless, and she didn't have to deliberately disguise herself as understanding. She just had to do what she wanted. Shen 80 let out a pig-like scream. Ah! Lin Sui! My hand! My hand is broken! My hand is broken! Lin Sui retracted her feet. Glancing around, he took off his cloth shoes and started slapping Shen 80's face. I asked you to trick me into signing up for Xiaoyun to go to the countryside, and I asked you to calculate on me. Chapter 2. Not the ultimate parents. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the original owner's memory, the idea of signing up for Liu Xiuyun to go to the countryside was indeed given by Shen 80 to the original owner. The excuse is that Liu Xiuyun has gone to the countryside, and Lin Sui's job in the supply and marketing cooperative will be stable, so no one will compete with her. The original owner was also a brainless person, and was persuaded by Shin to secretly sign up for Lu Xiuyun. Although the original owner deserved it a bit, she also sacrificed her life in the just argument with Shin, which can be considered a deserved crime. Lin Sui, an outsider, has no intention of taking on this charge. The soles of her shoes were slapping and quickly causing Shin mouth to bleed. Lin's mother came to hold her when she saw that the situation was not good, and Lin Sui gave up on it. Putting on her shoes, she stared at the crowd as the staff member of the Educated Youth Office spoke to the elder sister, Sister Xiang, Xiuyun, she won't go to the countryside tomorrow. She will go to the supply and marketing cooperative to take over my work. This is the most suitable solution that Lin Sui can think of in the memory of the original owner. The people in the yard looked incredulous when they heard Lin Sui's words. Especially Shin, whose face was covered in blood, looked at Lin Sui with an incredulous expression, as if the sky had fallen. Lin Sui, what did you say? You clearly said you were afraid of Lu Xiuyun taking over your job, so you sent her to the countryside. How could you give her your job? How could you? Why can't I? This job was given to me by my parents. I can give it to anyone I want, it's none of your business. Lin Sui was too lazy to even look at Shin. The job in the supply and marketing cooperative was given to her by the Lin family's parents, and she would give it to anyone she wanted. Although she has given up to Lu Xiuyun now, which is a bit sorry for Lin's parents, it is the only way to avoid Lu Xiuyun going to the countryside. As long as Lu Xiuyun doesn't go to the countryside, she can avoid the fate of tragic death. If she doesn't die, then Lu Wenyan won't go to the countryside, so naturally he won't kill anyone, and there won't be so many things happening afterwards. She naturally won't live to be 22 years old, just like the ending in the book. So let this job be suitable. Others didn't know the inside story, but after hearing Lin Sui's words, they all looked at her with new eyes. Lu Xiuyun, who happened to walk out of the room, also heard Lin Sui's words. Sister-in-law. After marrying into the Lu family for so many years, Lin Sui spent most of her time in her own room, apart from working. She didn't have a good face towards the people of the Lu family either. So much so that both Lu Mu and Lu Xiuyun, who were already somewhat weak in personality, were very afraid of Lin Sui. After making a faint sound of mosquitoes and flies, Lu Xiuyun stood there timidly, feeling at a loss and afraid to come forward. The people of the Lu family have good genes. The conditions of the three siblings of the Lu family are very good. The original owner still has memories of Lu Yi. He is tall and tough, although very cold, but very handsome. The second son of the Lu family, Lu Wenyan, is also a classmate of the original owner. He is gentle and elegant, very delicate. As for her daughter Lu Xiuyun, she was even more gentle and graceful, with the appearance of a girl from a water town in Jiangnan. The look of the weak wind supporting the willows is very painful. Lin Sui wiped the blood off her cheeks again, and when she tried to show a smile, her eyes turned black and she fainted. Sui Sui. Sister-in-law. Before she lost consciousness, she heard the voice of the mother of this body and Lu Xiuyun. When Lin Sui woke up, it was completely dark outside. She lay on the hospital bed, the fan above her head creaking and spinning, and the dim yellow light cast the shadow of the fan onto the wall. She sat up and saw the hospital uniform on her body, as well as her delicate hands that were completely different from her own. She let out a sigh. During the period of unconsciousness, she had a dream. No, it should be said that during the period of coma, she accepted another hidden memory from the original owner. The person the original owner liked was Lu Wenyan. It was also Lu Wenyan who she had planned to calculate when she drugged, but unexpectedly, it turned out to be Lu Yi with her. After a night of absurdity, she married her brother Lu Yi. This is really a bit of dog blood. Lin Sui didn't know the authenticity of this memory. She shook her painful head and threw away all those chaotic memories. Since she is destined not to go back, she can only live here well. As for the actions of the former owner, she does not judge. In the future, Lin Sui will be her. She the final say how to live and how to walk. Sui, you woke up. Zhao Meifan walked in from outside and saw Lin Sui wake up with a smile on her face. She quickly walked over. She was holding a basket in her hand, and from a distance, Lin Sui could smell the smell of chicken soup floating out of it. Now it's 72 years. Even city dwellers find it difficult to eat some meat. And the mother of the original owner was able to make chicken soup for her at this time, which shows that she really loved her. Unfortunately, the original owner is no longer there. Inside their daughter's shell is her soul from a different world. What's wrong, Sui? Is your head still hurting? I'll go see a doctor. Zhao Meifan said she wanted to go out. Lin Sui shook her head. I'm fine. She still can't pronounce that word. Fortunately, Zhao Meifan didn't care either. After confirming that Lin Sui was fine, she opened the lunchbox and let Lin Sui eat while it was hot. To be honest, Lin Sui also feels very hungry. But looking at the full box of chicken soup, she still took out an empty bowl and divided it into a large bowl for Zhao Meifan. You also eat. Lin Sui couldn't bear to be cruel to this mother. Zhao Meifan stared at her in a daze, without taking any action. Lin Sui noticed something was wrong and looked up to find that Zhao Meifan's eyes were filled with tears. She was startled. What did she do wrong? You. I'm fine, Zhao Meifan kept wiping her tears. I just thought of Sui when you weren't married. Before getting married. Lin Sui didn't know what this meant. She pushed the portion left for Zhao Meifan in front of her and started eating herself first. She waited until she had eaten enough and felt her strength restored before asking Zhao Meifan how the Lu family was doing. My father-in-law and uncle-in-law have returned, and your father came to apologize when he finished work. As for your sister-in-law, I have discussed with your father and if she is willing, let her pick up my shift. You are still working in the supply and marketing cooperative. The Lin family really loves their daughter. For the sake of my daughter, I am even willing to give my job to others. This is really very rare. Lin Sui is very fortunate. Wearing books, one can still meet such good parents. Lin Sui shook her head and said, No need, Mom. As soon as she said this, she was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect it to be so natural to call her this name. But Zhao Meifan was not even aware of anything unusual. What's wrong, Sui? It's okay. Lin Sui regained her senses and continued, let Xiuyun take over my work. After all, I filled out her ID card and registered her for going to the countryside. So what do you do? Are you taking over Mom's job? You used to say you love working in a supply and marketing cooperative the most, so I'll figure out another way with your dad to buy you a job. No need, Mom, don't worry about me anymore. Have you forgotten about Lu Yi? Chapter 3. Does a dog man don't wake up from dreams? You are listening at novel full.audio. Are you going to your son-in-law's place? Didn't you say that you hate stinky soldiers the most? Zhao Meifan is very worried about Lin Sui. It has changed for a while, and it has also caused trouble for her son-in-law. Lin Sui and Lu Yi were married for 4 years, including the one they got married, and they only met twice in total. But every time, Lin Sui was unhappy. Every time she is with Lu Yi, she always has a stinky face. In fact, it's not just with Lu Yi. But since Lin Sui accidentally rolled the sheets with Lu Yi, she has become like a different person, showing a strong impatience towards everyone and things around her. Zhao Meifan looked in her eyes and was anxious in her heart. But whether it's your own daughter, what should be worried about is still something to worry about. Nowadays, she has always looked down on her son-in-law's daughter. Suddenly, when it comes to her son-in-law, Zhao Meifan's first reaction is whether she is going to make trouble again. Lin Sui looked at Zhao Meifan, whose thoughts were clearly written on her face, and couldn't help but laugh. Mom, I used to be immature, but I won't be anymore. She figured it out clearly. It's only 72 years now, and there are still 5 years left before the resumption of the college entrance examination. Lin Sui has read some historical materials about this era. In these 5 years, there has been a lot of chaos outside, so it's better to go to the island for safety. It is definitely unrealistic to talk about divorce in this era. Not to mention military marriages are difficult to divorce. Even if it is true, this society will not tolerate divorced women. But if she really wants to live with a completely unfamiliar man, Lin Sui is not quite sure. Mom, let me take a break first. We'll talk about this later. Lin Sui, who felt it was difficult to stay, didn't know what to do for a while. And according to her memory, she knew that the original owner and her personality were somewhat different, and she dared not chat too much with Zhao Meifan, afraid of arousing her suspicion. Okay, rest well, don't worry. On the side of the Lu family. Upon receiving the message, Lu Wenyan and Lu Zhenhua, who rushed back overnight, both father and son had unpleasant expressions after listening to Su Yuan's words. Lu Zhenhua is a truck driver in the convoy. After graduating from high school, Lu Wenyan stuffed some money into it and started working as an apprentice in the convoy. Now that several years have passed, he has become a quite skilled repairman. He heard that Lin Sui had signed up for Lu Xiuyun to go to the countryside, and was so angry that he smashed things on the spot and wanted to go find Lin Sui to settle accounts. I'll go ask her what she really wants to do. Lu Wenyan turned around and wanted to leave. Lu Xiuyun quickly stopped him and wanted to explain, but Lu Wenyan didn't listen at all and turned around and rushed out of the yard. Lu Xiuyun couldn't catch up at the door and was so anxious that she was spinning around. Dad, Mom, what should I do if my second brother goes to settle accounts with my sister.in.law? Will he hurt my sister.in.law? It's okay, your second brother has a sense of propriety. Lu Zhenhua, who usually doesn't pay much attention to children's affairs, is really angry this time. Lin Sui's usual tinkering at home is enough, but now she has achieved this level by registering Xiuyun to go to the countryside. Isn't this about wanting Xiuyun's life? If Xiuyun really has an accident or something, can Yuan's body still support it? This time, Lin Sui is really going too far. Their Lu family doesn't have such a malicious daughter.in.law. Xiaoyun's father, the eldest daughter.in.law, was also deceived by someone. She said she would give her job to Xiaoyun. Su Yuan asked Lu Xiuyun to help her up, leaning against the pillow behind her, and said softly to Lu Zhenhua. The twins, Lu Yunjin and Lu Yunyao, were very obedient and snuggled up next to their grandmother, saying nothing. Lu Zhenhua sighed. Xiaowan, you're just too kind, so Lin Sui can ride up to you all the way. No, she's pretty good. Su Yuan pleaded softly. But this tone is a bit too weak. So much so that she didn't even believe it. Outside the yard, there was a sound of pushing the door. Lu Xiuyun thought it was Lu Wenyan who had returned, so she opened the door and walked out. Seeing the tall figure standing at the door, Lu Xiuyun was startled. Big brother. Xiaoyun, what are you talking about? The voices of the Lu family and his wife rang out inside the house. Lu Xiuyun saw the person coming and turned her head to the room, smiling and saying, Mom and Dad, Big brother is back. Lu Yi suddenly returned. How can the Lu family not mention it for now? Let's first talk about Lu Wenyan, who rushed to the hospital with great momentum. With the help of Zhao Meifan, Lin Sui took a shower, changed into clean pajamas, and was about to go to bed. The door to the hospital room was kicked open with a slap, and Lu Wenyan, full of anger, rushed in from outside. Without hesitation, he grabbed Lin Sui's arm and pulled it out. What are you doing? Let go of me. Lu Wenyan's hand was very strong, and Lin Sui's wrist felt like his bones were about to break when he held it so tightly. She pulled her hand desperately, but Lu Wenyan remained steadfast. Lu Wenyan, what's wrong with you? Lin Sui's hand was in excruciating pain as she was pulled, tears streaming down her eyes. She grabbed the bed frame with one hand and held it tightly, afraid to let go. This Lu Wenyan exuded an aura of wanting to kill her, and she didn't dare to let go, afraid that if she let go, she would really be gone. Let go. Lu Wenyan turned around. Lin Sui shook her head vigorously. You let go of me, Lu Wenyan. Don't you dare to do this to your sister.in.law. Aren't you afraid that your brother will come back and settle accounts with you? Find me to settle the accounts. Lu Wenyan suddenly laughed. He raised Lin Sui's arm and with a force, he smashed the whole person onto the side of the hospital bed. Lin Sui's waist happened to hit the hospital bed, causing her to gasp for breath and almost dying of pain on the spot. However, Lu Wenyan continued to mock coldly as if he couldn't see it. Lin Sui, you've been causing trouble for so many years, haven't you had enough? When you got married to my brother, I already made it clear to you that it's impossible for us in this lifetime. You haven't given up on this after all these years. You are so shameless, using all means to attract my attention. Are you right to my brother and to Yun Jin and Yun Yao? Lin Sui didn't know where Lu Wenyan came from, feeling that her actions were attracting his attention. She didn't care about Lin Sui in the past, but now, even if Lu Wenyan looks like a dog, she will definitely not be interested in men who hit women. She also doesn't want to lose face in front of such a man. Lin Sui supported her waist, took several sips of cold air, and then slowly stood up. With a bandage wrapped around her head and a head covered in green silk, her face was particularly pale. Her current image is really not very good, but she looked at Lu Wenyan coldly and said, Lu Wenyan, did you his mother not wake up? Lu Wenyan was scolded to the point of being foolish. Lin Sui continued, what kind of dog eye can you see that my love for you is still lingering? Has it caught your attention? What do you think I will take a liking to you? Is it your weak chicken-like appearance, or is it a salary of 36 yuan per month? Or rather, do I take a liking to your bad temper of being indiscriminate and fighting at my sister.in.law? Chapter 4. The Big Bad Returns. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lu Wenyan. Outside the door, the tall figure with his hand resting on the doorknob paused. Inside the ward, Lin Sui didn't know that there was an unexpected person standing outside the door. She gently rubbed her waist, let out another hiss in pain, and took a cold breath. I increasingly dislike this Lu Wenyan who fights against women. She didn't care about him, walked to the hospital bed, sat down, pulled out the blanket and draped it over her lap before going to sleep. This reaction made Lu Wenyan feel even more unbelievable. Lin Sui. Today's Lin Sui, why does it seem like a different person? How could she show impatience at such a great opportunity to be alone with him? Are you trying to play any new tricks again? What's going on? Upon hearing the confusion in Lu Wenyan's voice, Lin Sui sneered and lifted her head, Uncle doesn't want to leave yet. Can you climb your sister.in.law's bed in this big night? Sorry, I don't like you weak chicken. Get out of here now. Although Lin Sui has just arrived in an unfamiliar place, she is a person with a temper. After realizing Lu Wenyan's hatred, she had no intention of building a good relationship with him. Especially when the other party even started hitting her. Take action on a woman. It can be seen from this that one's character is very poor. Lin Sui, how do you speak as a woman? Lu Wenyan's face turned red, and he didn't know if he was angry or embarrassed. I have no interest in a woman like you who is not behaving properly. Oh, really? Then I have to thank you. Fortunately, you're not interested in me, otherwise I would have to be disgusted to death. Lin Sui retorted. Lu Wenyan clenched his fist hanging on his side and said, Lin Sui. The door of the ward was pushed open from outside. A person who nobody expected walked in from outside. Lu Wenyan widened his eyes, while Lin Sui, who was about to lie down, turned around with suspicion. When she saw the tall man walking in, a hint of doubt flashed on her face. "Who are you again?" As the words fell, she suddenly realized that there was something wrong in the man's eyes that Lu Wenyan had seen in. How could this man, who was full of evil energy, with deep facial features and a cold expression, resemble the twins in her memory, Lu Yunjin and Lu Yunyao? Is it difficult? He is the husband of the original owner. In that era of literature, the big villain who doted on the female lead, Lu Yi. Lu Yi. Lin Sui looked at Lu Yi with suspicion. I tentatively called out the name from my memory. Actually, it's not Lin Sui's fault, but even the original owner has only 2 or 3 sides of ties with Lu Yi. How can you remember? The original owner's memory did not provide any useful clues, and it was Lin Sui who guessed the identity of Lu Yi based on the appearance of the twins. Lu Ye's features were covered with a chill, with no unnecessary expressions. After taking a glance at her, he let out a soft and imperceptible hum. Perhaps it was sent out. Or perhaps it was Lin Sui's hallucination. Lin Sui is unaware. I saw Lu Yi walking up to Lu Wenyan, his thin lips lifted lightly, and he said word by word, "Apologize to your sister. In law." Ah! Brother, what are you saying? Lu Wenyan was still immersed in the shock of how his elder brother in the army suddenly returned. Suddenly, Lu Ye's words rang in his ear, asking him to apologize. He was immediately confused. Brother, do you know what this woman did? Lu Wenyan pointed at Lin Sui on the hospital bed, feeling extremely angry. Brother, you're in the army. You don't know, she's always bullying her mother and Xiuyun at home, not taking Yunjin and Yunyao with her. She dresses up all day. Apologize. The almost icy cold voice interrupted Lu Wenyan's incessant chatter. Lu Wenyan was confused. He looked at his brother incredulously. If it weren't for the man in front of him, he would have doubted whether his brother had been taken away by some mountain and wild monster. How could he say such a thing? Did he forget that he was his younger brother and his family? Brother, I don't know about this malicious woman. Before the character could finish, Lu Wenyan's face was slapped by Lu Yi. A crisp sound echoed in the ward. I thought they were probably performing brotherly Lin Sui, but they also looked up at Lu Yi and his side. Lu Yi actually hit his own younger brother. Is the reason still for her? Does he love the wife of the original owner so much? Love so much that you don't hesitate to teach your own younger brother a lesson in front of others? Lin Sui couldn't figure out the reason behind this. I always feel that this scene is too eerie. And the beaten Lu Wenyan looked at Lu Yi with crimson eyes. He is not as strong or imposing as Lu Yi, so it is obvious that Lu Wenyan's aura is much weaker when the two brothers confront each other. Brother! How could you hit me for such a woman? I'll say it again and apologize to your sister. In law immediately. It is obvious that Lu Ye's patience has reached its limit. If Lu Wenyan continues to be stubborn, he may have his good fruit to eat. Lin Sui couldn't figure out for a while why Lu Yi did this. But just because of his performance in defending the original owner, she felt that Lu Yi was a competent husband. Whether there is emotion or not, at least being a husband, his performance is qualified. Although Lin Sui has never been married in modern times, she has many male comrades around her, all of whom are women like clothes, and brothers are siblings. It is rare for a man like Lu Yi to teach his younger brother, who is already in his 20s, in front of his wife. In the end, Lu Wenyan was forced by his brother's aura to apologize to Lin Sui. Lin Sui let out a chuckle. The faint sound of mosquitoes and flies lacks any sincerity. Forget it, I can't afford it. She is also a person with a temper, and she has no obligation to accept Lu Wenyan's insincere apology. However, even if Lu Wenyan sincerely apologizes, she will not accept it. Upon hearing this, Lu Wenyan raised his head again and said, Lin Sui, you. The threatening sound of Lu Yi ringing around him in time weakened Lu Wenyan's momentum. I apologize, she doesn't accept that it's her fault. Leaving behind these words, Lu Wenyan felt extremely humiliated and could no longer stay in the hospital room. He turned around and rushed out. At the staircase, I happened to meet Zhao Meifan. Zhao Meifan opened her mouth to greet Lu Wenyan, but when she saw his swollen and red cheeks, she was confused for a moment. Is it the uncle-in-law of Sui Sueda? Zhao Meifan thought this was too inappropriate. She hurried towards the ward, but when she arrived at the door, she saw a tall figure inside the ward. Her daughter shouldn't be so confused as to act recklessly with other men behind her son-in-law's back, right? Sui. Zhao Meifan was suspicious, tidying up her clothes and slowly walking in. Standing in front of the hospital bed, Lu Yi turned around and greeted Zhao Meifan politely. Mom, I'm back. Son.in.law. Chapter 5. Men with top configuration. You are listening at novel full.audio. After seeing clearly that the person coming was Lu Yi, Zhao Meifan's whole heart relaxed. When did you come back, son.in.law? Have you had dinner yet? It seems there is still food in the hospital cafeteria. You can sit here and talk to Sui, and I will go to the cafeteria to take a look. Mom, no need, Before Lu Yi could say that he would go eat on his own in a while, Zhao Meifan had already left the ward in a hurry. Also close the door, by the way. Don't let anyone disturb the couple. Lin Sui sitting on the bed. It is indeed a son.in.law with half a son-in-law. Judging from her mother's attitude towards Lu Yi, those who are not aware of it thought that Lu Yi was her biological son, not her son.in.law. Lin Sui roast in his heart. Even she didn't realize it, she seemed to have assimilated into the identity of Lin Sui in the 1970s faster than she had imagined. After Zhao Meifan left, the ward completely quieted down. Lin Sui leaned against the pillow, not knowing what to say, and slowly closed her eyes. I thought I could ignore Lu Ye's existence by closing my eyes, but who knew that this man's presence was too strong? In this small ward, his presence is particularly strong. Lin Sui could feel that the man standing in front of the hospital bed was looking at him. Is it because of her actions that revealed her flaws and made her look different from the original owner, which led to his suspicion? Or is it that he wants to settle the accounts for Lu Xiuyuan's trip to the countryside after autumn? So just hitting Lu Wenyan was just giving her face in front of outsiders. He closed the door behind closed doors. Is he going to start teaching himself again? Lin Sui thought of this possibility and trembled coldly, forced to slowly open her eyes. Opening his eyes, he met Lu Ye's deep and bottomless black eyes. In her mind, the actions of Lu Yi towards the original owner in that era novel came to mind again, and the severity of his methods made Lin Sui tremble uncontrollably. I was deceived by Shen about Xiuyuan going to the countryside. In order to survive, she decided to be the first to confess. Shen said that if Xiuyuan is not allowed to go to the countryside, I will lose my job as a supply and marketing cooperative. Lin Sui lowered her eyes and explained, her fair and thin hands tightly gripping the sheets on both sides of the bed, indicating her current level of nervousness. After she finished speaking, she didn't hear Lu Ye's voice. Unable to judge Lu Ye's attitude, she could only grit her head and continue, I admit I have no brains. I was deceived by Shen. I have already given Xiuyuan the job of the supply and marketing cooperative, and she won't go to the countryside. Don't worry. As long as Lu Xiuyuan doesn't go to the countryside, then the Lu family won't be ruined, and she shouldn't die either. Lin Sui thought of this and breathed a soft sigh of relief. Relax your shoulders as well. Her self-proclaimed covert actions completely caught Lu Ye's eye. Lin Sui didn't look up at the moment, otherwise she would have seen waves rolling in Lu Ye's seemingly calm and deep eyes. He tightly pursed his thin lips. The gaze was fixed on the top of Lin Sui's head. I know. He answered 3 words with a light tone. Lin Sui looked up in surprise and looked at the man standing by the bed in confusion. As the female protagonist's favorite villain spare tire, Lu Yi is definitely top-notch in both appearance and physique. The facial features are deep and handsome, with a tall figure that does not appear overly robust. The skin is not the false white of fresh flesh, but a wheat color that exudes a strong masculine spirit. Under the new military uniform, with wide shoulders, narrow waist, and long legs, every aspect is full of strength. After reading the novel, Lin Sui was naturally impressed by the author's numerous descriptions of the villain. Now that the paper man is alive and still in front of her, she couldn't help but take a few more glances. As she looked at Lu Yi, his gaze seemed calm and he didn't focus on her face, but he was also looking at her. Her hair is very smooth, with black hair shining under the light, as if there were flowing lights. A few strands of long hair draped down from the ears to the shoulders. The black hair contrasts sharply with the porcelain white face, and the ultimate collision of black and white is breathtaking. The bandage wrapped around her forehead passed through her black hair, and a little bit of blood soaked out from the bandage. Lu Yi forcefully controlled himself to ensure that he wouldn't lose control and scare her. Did Shin-80 make her forehead? Lu Yi suddenly spoke up and asked. Lin Sui exclaimed, only to realize that she had just been distracted when she saw a handsome man. She raised her hand in frustration, wanting to pound herself, but halfway up, she remembered that her head was still injured. She let out a sigh. Yes. I don't know what came to my mind, but Lin Sui suddenly showed a smile and looked at the man in front of her with a smile on her face. Are you going to help me seek revenge? His younger brother can even beat him, but Shin-80 is bullying his wife. What does he plan to do? Outsiders are not allowed to fight. Lu Yi quickly gave an answer. Lin Sui let out a cry. I had a premonition that I simply wanted to give it a try. I just wanted to know how much I could do for the original owner. Now it seems that Lu Ye's beating of Lu Wenyan is just a lesson for his younger brother, for his own good. Before he could finish thinking about it, he heard Lu Yi say, but we can use other methods. Lin Sui raised her head again and looked at him in great surprise. Just as she was about to ask him what good solution was, Zhao Meifan pushed open the door of the ward. Carrying 2 lunch boxes and a bag of buns, he walked in from outside. Lu Yi quickly went to help retrieve things. Zhao Meifan smiled and said she didn't need to, but her hand sincerely handed everything to Lu Yi, indicating that she was very satisfied with this son.in.law. I just went and coincidentally, the cafeteria chef was about to finish work. I told him that my son.in.law had come back from outside and had not eaten yet. The chef immediately prepared a steamed bun for him alone. In these 2 lunch boxes, one is chicken soup and the other is noodles. She didn't pack them together because she was afraid they wouldn't taste good after soaking for a long time. The buns in that bag were steamed in a small steamer. There were 12 buns, half of which were vegetables and half were meat. They cost 3 yuan, and there was also 1 pound of meat ticket. This is a very large expense for other families. But Zhao Meifan is willing. Their family only has Lin Sui's daughter. In recent years, her daughter has suddenly become a person who is not sensible. Her son.in.law not only does not dislike her, but also makes phone calls and sends letters during Chinese New Year holidays, saying that Lin Sui is still young and will be sensible when she is older. Zhao Meifan knew that Lu Yi was comforting them. Although Sui was the most sensible one when she was a child, she changed a lot after getting married and couldn't even see them as parents. However, her son.in.law always said that Sui would come back. Zhao Meifan couldn't help but wipe away her tears when she thought of these things. Their son.in.law is so good, she's not good to her son.in.law, who is good to her. My son.in.law, please eat more. This place is all made for you. Please finish them. Zhao Meifan reminded on the side. I'm afraid that Lu Yi is hungry. Lu Yi sat down at the table and, before opening his lunchbox and preparing to eat, looked up at Lin Sui. "Wife, do you want to eat some more?" Lin Sui trembled all over. I looked at the man in front of me incredulously. Chapter 6. The original Lord and the opposite do not love each other. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why is this title so familiar to you? Lin Sui raised her head and looked at Lu Yi incredulously. On Lu Yi's serious face, his expression softened. What's wrong? Lin Sui shook her head vigorously. No, this is ridiculous. She firmly refuses to admit that the voice of the object in her long-cherished dream is extremely similar to that of Lu Yi. This must have been her overthinking that led her to substitute for Lu Yi's voice. It must be like this. Lin Sui's head was shaking a bit painful, and she raised her hand to support her own head, temporarily not thinking about it. Sui. Is your head hurting again? Zhao Meifan quickly walked over and supported Lin Sui's arm with both hands, making her lean back. Lu Yi also stood up to help her. She quickly waved her hand. You can eat, I'm fine, just lean on me. Lu Yi gave a low agreement. I don't know if it's Lin Sui's illusion, but I feel like Lu Yi is not very happy. She searched through the memories of this body, but no matter how hard she searched, she couldn't find any evidence of the love between Lu Yi and the original owner. But tonight's Lu Yi not only forced Lu Wenyan to apologize to her, but also showed great concern for her, and even called her daughter.in.law. This strange phenomenon, is it that Lu Yi has also been reborn? Did you come back and seek revenge from the original owner? Before the tragedy of the Lu family occurred, should the original owner be killed in advance? Lin Sui was startled by her own thoughts. She lifted her head and quickly glanced at Lu Yi, instinctively leaning towards Zhao Meifan. If it's really what she guessed, can she be honest with Lu Yi and say she's not the original owner? Lu Yi is a soldier, and in that era's literature, he became a major villain because his family suffered a huge upheaval, and he became a villain only after all his family members passed away. Now that his family is still there, he shouldn't be so ruthless after confessing himself, right? Lin Sui secretly glanced at Lu Yi again. Consider the feasibility of this method. Zhao Meifan, standing beside her, didn't know why her daughter kept secretly looking at her son.in.law, but when she saw her daughter's expression and immediately withdrew her gaze, Zhao Meifan couldn't help but laugh. Her silly daughter finally knows that her son.in.law is doing well. Has this been secretly scrutinizing someone, proving that she has taken him to heart? I have been looking forward to it for several years, and since my daughter got married, I have been looking forward to it day and night. Finally, I hope that my daughter and son.in.law have a good relationship. My daughter is going to join the army today. After that, the young couple will live together every day. If we add a younger brother or sister to Yunyao and his siblings, our relationship will be even better. Zhao Meifan couldn't help but feel happy at the thought of that scene. Lin Sui didn't know that her mother had so many thoughts in her mind, and at this moment her thoughts were also quite rich, but all about Lu Yi. She had been guessing Lu Yi's attitude. Just because she was a newcomer and the original owner didn't have much memory of Lu Yi, she couldn't guess at all. Their mother and daughter were mentally active, sitting on the side watching Lu Yi eat quietly, but their hearts did not calm down. But he has good self-control and is good at disguising himself. His already cold face sank like that, and others looked at him a few more times without daring, let alone carefully examining his expression to see if there were any subtle changes. Lin Sui sat on the bed for a while but couldn't come up with a clue. She was a bit tired and wanted to lie down and rest. After finishing the noodles and buns, Lu Yi also stood up at the right time and walked outside to the boiling water room to wash the lunchbox. Zhao Meifan stopped him. Oh no, you're here to talk to Sui. Where should I put the lunchbox? I'll go wash it. I'm about to go pick up my lunchbox. Lin Sui sat there seemingly motionless, but she kept paying attention to their situation. At the same time, she couldn't help but be curious. Lu Yi had eaten all the food her mother had brought, how could her stomach still look so flat? Okay, forgive her for being a bit out of sync with her mind. It's okay, Mom. I'll just go wash it. You stay here with Sui Sui. Ah, you child, why are you so diligent? Zhao Meifan's job was taken away by Lu Yi, and she felt both relieved and heartbroken. The son.in.law is too sensible, but the daughter is as stubborn as a young child. Zhao Meifan sighed. Lu Yi has already gone to wash the lunchbox. He left the ward and didn't forget to kindly close the door. After his footsteps faded away, Lin Sui spoke up and said, Mom, will you be here with me tonight? Before Lu Yi arrived, Lin Sui would definitely not ask this question because she knew that Zhao Meifan would definitely be with her in the hospital. But Lu Yi has returned. No matter how he said he was the original husband, coupled with Zhao Meifan's rarity towards Lu Yi, Lin Sui reasonably suspected that her mother would push her to Lu Yi. It has been proven that Lin Sui's premonition is accurate. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhao Meifan spoke in a sarcastic tone, What am I doing with you? It's not enough for us to see each other every day. We also have to meet at night. My son.in.law only came back once after so long. You two have nothing to say. Mom. Lin Sui paused for a moment and slowly explained, I have a bad relationship with him. You don't know, what can I say to him? Isn't it you who caused the bad relationship? Zhao Meifan scolded her biological daughter without hesitation. But how could she be willing to scold her precious daughter seriously? I just said a heavy sentence, and immediately my tone became more serious and heartfelt. Sui Sui, Mom and Dad are both old and won't be able to accompany you for long. Ono is a reliable person, with him by your side. If your dad and I ever go, then you can rest assured. So please be obedient and live a good life with your son.in.law, okay? Mom clearly remembers that you were the most obedient when you were in school, even when you wanted to date your son.in.law, you were also obedient. Why did you change after getting married? Today's daughter is too obedient and has the same feeling as when she was in school, to the extent that Zhao Meifan said a few more words. Mom. Lin Sui listened to Zhao Meifan's words, and even if she wasn't the original owner, she was somewhat moved. Poor parents all over the world. She hasn't seen Lin's father yet when she comes here, but Zhao Meifan, as a mother, is really heartfelt and kind to her. Mom. Lin Sui took Zhao Meifan's hand and whispered, You and my dad are still young. Why do you say you can't leave? You child. Yes, my precious daughter is right. We are young, a cheerful middle-aged male voice interjected. Lin Sui looked up and saw Lin's father, dressed in Zhongshan suit and with a kind smile on his face, walking in. He was still accompanied by Lu Yi. Sui Sui, Daddy's precious daughter, is your head still hurting? Lin Jiangwo sat by the hospital bed, watching Lin Sui's bandaged forehead, not to mention how heartbroken it was. Old Shen doesn't know how to teach his daughter. At a young age, his mind is so malicious. Sui Sui, don't worry, Dad can help you vent your anger. Dad. Chapter 7. Stay overnight. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. There was a slight choking in Lin Sui's voice. In this unfamiliar time and era, in the story of what she thought was a paper man, the kind Lin father and Lin mother made her feel the warmth of the family. This is something she has never experienced before. In modern society, her mother will always be dissatisfied with her. No matter what she does, no matter how hard she tries in exams, or how many awards she wins in dance, in her mother's eyes, it's not enough, never enough. Lin Sui didn't come here to speak ill of modern mothers. She is seeking truth from facts. Taking today's situation as an example, if her biological mother came, she would definitely speak up without any reason, saying, Why didn't others deceive Shanadi? Isn't it because she's stupid? Well, Lin Sui also thinks that the original owner is a bit unwise and will be fooled by the plastic sisters in a few words. But this cannot conceal that the Lin family's parents are really good parents. Because the family atmosphere was warm enough, Lin Sui quickly took on the identity of the original owner. When Lin Jiangwo and Zhao Meifan were about to leave the hospital, she felt a bit reluctant. "Dad, Mom, are you leaving? Can't you stay?" Lin Sui looked pitifully at Lin Jiangwo and Zhao Meifan. They all left, what should she do alone? She really doesn't have much courage to face the abnormal Lu Yi alone. Zhao Meifan had a smile on her face, but her eyes were slightly moist. This silly girl, she bumped her head and went back to her childhood. Lin Sui, who was a child, was also so soft and sticky, not to mention how likable she was. Lin Jiangwo also smiled with emotion. "Isn't that good? Didn't you keep saying that your daughter changed after getting married? Now she's back, you should be happy." Lin Jiangwo's words were just a casual remark to make Zhao Meifan happy. Zhao Meifan and Lin Sui didn't care either. But no one noticed that in the deep eyes of Lu Yi standing aside, an exceptionally complex emotion flashed, but it was fleeting, so fast that it was hard to see clearly. "Dad, Mom, it's getting late. I'll take you downstairs," suggested Lu Yi. Lin Jiangwo waved his hand and said, "No need, you're here to accompany Sui Sui and talk to her more." When Lin Sui married Lu Yi, she had just turned 18 years old and was already a child. She also had many close relationships with her husband, and they didn't see each other once a year. "Now that my son.in-law has suddenly returned, it seems that my daughter has returned to her pre-marriage temperament. As parents, they certainly hope that the young couple can talk more." Lu Yi shifted his gaze to Lin Sui on the hospital bed. At the moment when Lin Sui met his calm gaze, she instinctively shifted her gaze away. She didn't dare to be watched by the big villain. If he saw anything, it would be ruined. Looking at her parents who had to leave, she pursed her pale lips and said, "Dad, Mom, there's only one bed in this ward. Lu Yi stays here and there's no place to sleep. Why don't he go home with my dad to sleep? Mom, please stay with me. This bed is just good enough to accommodate us." Lin Sui racked her brains, still thinking of reasons to refuse Lu Yi's stay. Her unwilling behavior was not too concealed. Lin Jiangwo felt a bit sorry for his daughter, but he couldn't follow her instructions either. "Sui Sui." Zhao Meifan spoke out. Meanwhile, Lu Yi's voice also sounded. "I'll be back in the team tomorrow morning." The deep male voice spoke in a calm tone, recounting the fact that he would return to the team tomorrow morning, as if telling Lin Sui that there was no need to rush to drive him away. He would leave tomorrow morning without her driving him away. Lin Sui let out a cry and looked up at him. Because of surprise, I instinctively asked, "What are you doing back then?" If she remembers correctly, Lu Yi's residence is on a northern island, not to mention how far away they are from this small southern city. Even in later generations, it would take several hours to fly by plane. It naturally takes longer to take the train now. He is willing to travel long distances and run back home for a day before leaving, indeed because he awakened the memories of his previous life. Lin Sui regarded the life when the original protagonist died and the life when Lu Yi became the female protagonist's backup as the previous life. So, did Lu Yi really awaken the memories of his family's downfall in his previous life? Lin Sui suddenly felt a chill in her neck. She raised her hand and touched it, her head still on top. Lu Yi's eyes dimmed slightly. He hugged his arms and slowly walked towards the hospital bed. Lin Sui stared at him and instinctively shrank back. "What do you want?" In her delicate tone, there was a slight tremble. After she finished speaking, she wanted to call her parents and no matter what, don't leave her alone with Lu Yi. But when I looked up, I realized that my parents didn't know when they had left. Lin Sui. She just felt warmth from her parents in this era, and they just left her like this. Watching the tall and cold man walking step by step, Lin Sui's gaze moved back and forth between the door and window, pondering whether if Lu Yi were to take action, she would have a better chance of escaping from the door or jumping through the window. It has been proven that there is no chance. Lu Yi approached and sat down by the bed. When the tall body sits down, its back is also straight. The straight line distance between her and him is less than 1 meter. That is to say, if he wants to reach out and twist her neck, he just needs to lift his arm. Lin Sui pulled back hard, her back already sticking to the wall. She tried hard to distance herself from the man in front of her, but the man's aggressive aura rushed towards her like invisible tentacles, firmly locking her in place. She whimpered inwardly, how could she be so immortal that encountering Lu Yi restored the memories of her previous life? If she admits now that she is not the original owner, the big shot will also think that she is sophistry, right? Lu Yi. Lin Sui swallowed her saliva with great difficulty, both hesitant and afraid, but looked at the man across from her as if she wanted to do everything. She hadn't figured out the wording yet when the man in front of her took out a passbook from his pocket and handed it to her. Lin Sui. Is it difficult for the passbook to be filled with the crimes committed by the original owner in his previous life? Okay, forgive her for being a bit too timid, but there's nothing we can do. Who let the original owner ruin the Lu family in his previous life, and she happened to dress up like this original owner? Someone may say that she only needs to make no mistakes in her lifetime. But if the other person is a man with memories from a previous life, how should you deal with it? Lin Sui's mind was in a mess, while others had a mess in their minds. In her mind, there was a whole load of chaos. She lowered her eyes and looked at the passbook in front of her, afraid to reach out and pick it up. Don't you open it and take a look. Lu Yi's voice rang out. Lu Yi. Feeling pitiful and crying, wanting to confess, he lifted his head and looked at the man in front of him with red eyes. She's really not the original owner, can we not kill her? Chapter 8. The Big Bad Love Brain. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lin Sui trembled slightly with fear. Delayed to pick up the passbook. For a while, she heard a faint sigh echoing above her head, and then the passbook was forcefully pressed into her palm by the big hand. This is our family's savings over the years. Take it and see if you have anything you want to buy. If you need it, go buy it. A deep male voice sounded above the head. Lin Sui's mind was buzzing, and she felt a bit confused at the sound for a moment. What's going on here? Isn't it restoring the memories of the previous life to seek revenge? But instead of running back 1,000 miles and delivering the passbook to the original owner, Lin Sui couldn't figure out what the current situation was. She didn't know what to say for a moment, so she simply opened her passbook. Lin Sui was stunned for a moment when she saw 3 zeros following the 5 above. So much money. It's now 1972, a special era when the entire economy was in a slump. In this planned economy era where everyone participated, a person's annual income of 100 yuan was already a wealthy family. But in her hand, there was a passbook with 5,000 yuan on it. How could she not be surprised by this? Upon hearing her tone, Lu Yi's fear was no longer the fear he had been trying to hide, and his heart relaxed slightly. If you look closely, you will find that the expression on his face is also gentle. Well, I didn't spend much money. Lu Yi explained softly. Although his voice was still quite cold, due to the slowing down effect, it fell into people's ears and felt very gentle. Lin Sui. Is his relationship with the original owner so good? I have another one with me, which is the money I usually receive as an allowance, but I haven't given it to you yet. Oh. Lin Sui didn't expect Lu Yi to give her the passbook, so he said he still kept one, and she thought it was completely fine. I didn't even want to ask why he kept his passbook. But without further questioning, she couldn't resist the man's own words. The military housing has some furniture, but most of it is used by others for a long time. I want to wait for our house to come down and replace them with new ones. I will spend some money to customize new ones, which will make them more comfortable to use. Knowing that Lin Sui is the only daughter in the family and was usually pampered and raised by her parents-in-law, Lu Yi asked her to accompany the army, so naturally he didn't want to harm her at all. Lin Sui only heard that she felt more comfortable when making new furniture. She nodded before regaining her senses. No, he said to go with the army. Accompanying the army. She widened her eyes and looked at the man in front of her, with a bold guess in her heart. So you're here to pick us up and join the army. The girl in front of her has delicate facial features, porcelain white skin color, and a classical oval face that is cute and lively. Looking up slightly at his almond eyes, bright and dazzling. Lu Ye's Adam's apple rolled slightly, and the hand placed on his thigh gently clenched into a fist. He used great perseverance to shift his gaze away. No, I just came back to see you. What? He ran back so far just to catch a glimpse of his wife, who had caused him immense sorrow in his previous life. What is this touching fairy love that touches heaven and earth? What surprised Lin Sui even more was still ahead. The man continued to whisper, "Long time no see, I miss you very much." Before she could react, the man in front of her threw another sentence that caught her off guard. Sui, can I hold you? Lin Sui. Stupid, completely confused. The plot is not going right. Something's really wrong. How can Lu Yi, who is clearly a script for Long Outyen and even has the same name as Long Outyen, come into contact with reality but has a similar romantic brain? Let's just consider his love brain, right? After all, he is a man who takes the 5 or 6 day train, runs back to see his wife and immediately leaves, and then takes the 5 or 6 day train back. It's not excessive to say that he has a romantic mind, is it? Lin Sui couldn't stop her wild thoughts. The next second, she was vaguely embraced by the person in front of her. He wrapped his arms around her, as if holding her in his arms, but the distance was very restrained, and a fist could still be placed between their bodies. The restrained distance made Lin Sui even more puzzled by Lu Ye's feelings towards the original owner. You said he doesn't like it, why do you just hand in your passbook as soon as you come? Do you say he likes and embraces such a gentleman? Lin Sui, a girl who has been single since birth for many years, cannot guess Lu Ye's actions. I dare not guess randomly. As long as the other party has no intention of taking her life, she can feel a little relieved. After embracing her with a vague embrace, Lu Yi released his hand and retreated to his original position, standing up. You should rest early. I have something to do and I'll go out. The door will be inserted inside and I'll open it when I come back. Oh, good. Lin Sui's answer was very dull. She naturally looked forward to Lu Ye's departure in her heart. There were too many things happening on this day, and her spirit had always been in a tense state. Whether it was with Zhao Meifan or Lu Yi, she couldn't show her horse's feet. Now that they have all left, Lin Sui has time to sort out the specific situation at present. She is now a 72-year-old Lin Sui. The original owner is about the same age as her in modern times, and her appearance is the same. Unlike Lin Sui, who was just a recent college graduate in modern times, Lin Sui became a mother early and had a pair of twins. In the original owner's memory, Lin Sui sighed as she found the shadows of the dragon and phoenix twins. Neither the original owner nor she has much experience with children. Can she really be a good mother to 2 children as a traveler? Lin Sui was not too averse to the idea of being a mother when she came over, although she had some criticisms. After all, looking at it from a different perspective, she lived an extra life by borrowing someone else's body. She, who has regained her life, will definitely take on the corresponding responsibility for this body. Of course, she has also considered divorce, and she believes that if she really gets divorced, her parents in this era will definitely support her. However, this is 72 years, and even if her parents support her, she cannot divorce at will. It can be imagined how difficult the situation for women in this era will be after divorce. Not only is her personal situation difficult, but she will also face difficulties with her family. And most importantly, Lu Yi is a soldier, and their marriage is a military marriage. As long as Lu Yi doesn't bring it up, it's useless for her to bring it up. They can't get separated at all. Lin Sui thought of this and touched the passbook under her pillow. This is a man who will submit his passbook and has a tall figure without any flaws in appearance. If it weren't for the preconceived notions about him in books, Lin Sui would have appreciated people like Lu Yi quite a bit. Ah, so what should we do? Lin Sui pulled the quilt over and covered it with some regret. She thought it over and didn't think about it for now. Let's take each step and count it. She needs to rest well now if she wants to be more emotional. As for the future, let's leave it for later discussion. Lin Sui is good at comforting herself. She thought about things and slowly fell asleep. At the same time, Lu Yi returned to the Lu family. Chapter 9. Is not biological. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It's already 10 o'clock at night. The Lu family, who should have rested long ago, except for Su Yuan who fell asleep with the dragon and phoenix twins, there is no one drowsy at this moment. They are sitting in the main house at home. Not too big, but also not too narrow in the living room. No one spoke first, and the atmosphere was a bit dull. Lu Zhenhua sat in the main seat, holding a paper in his hand while rolling a cigarette. His rough and large hands were covered in wrinkles, and he was no longer young. In addition, driving trucks outside all year round, it's windy and rainy. People appear older. This is almost 50 years old, but there is already a slight grayness on the temples. Lu Xiuyun stood on the side, holding a boiled, unshelled egg in her hand, rolling her cheeks for Lu Wenyan. Lu Wenyan was full of frustration, which was also reflected on his face. He sat there angrily, his hands resting on a chair, waiting for his brother to come back and give him a reasonable explanation. The rest of the family is also waiting. After learning that Lu Wenyan's cheek had been hit by Lu Yi, the family did not fall asleep either. You should know that although Lu Yi is not their biological child, because he was raised in this family since childhood, it is a relationship with siblings, which is not inferior to that of close relatives. Now Lu Yi suddenly made a move, which really caught Lu Zhenhua off guard. Lu Wenyan didn't expect it either. Dad! The door was pushed open, and Lu Yi walked in from outside. The person in the living room quickly lifted their head and looked at Lu Yi who came in at the door. He came in from outside, although he deliberately restrained his breath. After all, he had served in the army for a long time and was a true person who had fought on the battlefield. He still had the aura of solemnity on his body. Lu Zhenhua raised his head and let out a Lu Xiuyun also gave a very happy greeting. Big brother, you're back. Where's my sister.in.law? In this family, Lu Xiuyun, like Su Yuan, has a very kind heart. When Lu Yi heard his sister mention Lin Sui, his expression softened. Her head injury is a bit serious, but the doctor said it's not life-threatening. Just take good care of it for a while. Is that right? That's good. Lu Xiuyun felt relieved. When she and Lin Sui were in high school, although they were not classmates in the same grade or class, they met each other in their sophomore year. And her second brother is also in the same class as Lin Sui. For Lin Sui, who is beautiful and intelligent in the class, no one in Yizhong doesn't know her. Lu Xiuyun's fondness for Lin Sui's youth was successfully extended to their days as sister.in.law. Although Lin Sui has not been as sweet and obedient as she was in high school in recent years, she is still respected by her elder brother's wife, Yun Yao and Yun Jin's mother, and Lu Xiuyun. Lu Yi walked to a nearby stool and sat down. Lu Xiuyun asked him if he had eaten. I'm going to cook noodles for you, big brother. I have taken it in the hospital. Lu Yi answered with a faint tone. Upon hearing this, Lu Xiuyun calmed down and carefully rolled an egg on his second brother's cheek. Lu Yi glanced at Lu Wenyan and said coldly, "Did you break your hand?" The tone was very cold. Lu Wenyan paused for a moment and looked up at Lu Yi. "Brother, what do you mean? A person in their 20s can't even do small things like rolling eggs. If foreign enemies invade in the future and send you to the battlefield, wouldn't you also want someone to help you aim a gun at the enemy?" Lu Yi bluntly criticized the style of this young master, Lu Wenyan. Lu Wenyan was already full of anger. He thought his brother would explain to him that the slap he gave him in the hospital was a gesture to show Lin Sui. Now he finally managed to bring his brother back, but instead of waiting for an explanation, he received a more severe criticism. "Listen, what does it mean he's on the battlefield and needs someone to help him carry a gun? Why did he go to the battlefield? Brother, I can see that you've been distracted by that woman Lin Sui, haven't you? Did she call and write to you saying something? You came back without saying a word and just called me. Brother, you wouldn't have done this before." Lu Wenyan pushed away Lu Xiuyun's hand and stood up, glaring at Lu Yi and shouting loudly. Lu Ye's eyelids twitched. Lu Zhenhua placed his hands on the table, neither light nor heavy. Looking at Lu Wenyan with a black face and a tone of displeasure. "Wenyan, what are you yelling at? Can't you talk to your big brother properly if you have something to say? Your mother and Yunyao and Yunjin just slept, you want to wake them up, want to wake up the neighbors." "Dad." Lu Wenyan paused for a moment, looked at Lu Yi, then at Lu Zhenhua, and then lowered his voice a bit. "What did you say I did? If it weren't for my brother hitting someone as soon as he came back, would I yell? Why did I hit you? I don't know in my heart." Unlike Lu Wenyan's roar, Lu Ye's tone has always been light and indifferent. He slightly lifted his eyelids and raised his eyes. In his narrow eyes, there was a cold light. Lu Wenyan's heart trembled slightly, but he still felt that there was no problem with his actions. "What's the point? It's that you've been captivated by that woman, disregarding your brotherly feelings, and don't even think about who took you in and raised you back then. Without our home, you don't know where." The following sentence was spoken very quietly by Lu Wenyan. Lu Yi pursed his lips before speaking, but Lu Zhenhua, who was sitting above, slapped the table beside him. "Lu Wenyan, kneel down. Dad. Kneel outside." Lu Zhenhua sat there and had already stopped smoking. He raised his head and glared angrily at Lu Wenyan, with a raging anger imprinted on his face that could erupt almost at any moment. Lu Wenyan walked forward reluctantly. When passing by Lu Ye's side, he didn't forget to glare at him, then walked outside the door and knelt straight at the door with a puff. "This bastard, is that how I usually educate you?" Lu Zhenhua stood up in anger, walked with his hands behind his back to the side, picked up the thin vine placed by the door, and was about to go out and beat Lu Wenyan. "Dad." Lu Yi finally spoke up, although Wenyan's voice is a bit louder, what he said is true. "Without the Lu family, it is indeed without me. He has known since childhood that he is the adopted son of the Lu family. So no matter what he did from a young age, he always worked harder and more seriously than others because he knew that others couldn't do it, and his parents helped him find a way out. He only had foster parents. Although his foster parents are also kind to him, he is unwilling to trouble them." "Oh no." Lu Zhenhua stopped and turned to look at Lu Yi. He looked at the tall man sitting in front of him, but his face overlapped with the other face in his memory. "In that era of war, if it weren't for him, my life would have been entrusted to that side long ago." Lu Zhenhua's face was already filled with tears. "Oh no, Dad once said, you are the biological son of your parents. You're saying this like your immature younger brother, trying to dig your parents' hearts." Chapter 10. No one is allowed to harm Lin Sui. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. "Dad." Lu Xiuyun stood on the side, stunned by her two older brothers and father. Seeing her father shedding tears, she quickly regained consciousness and walked up. "Dad, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying so well?" She quickly handed the handkerchief to Lu Zhenhua, asking him to wipe his tears. At the same time, he also panicked and went to see the big brother on the side, not knowing what to do. "Dad, when Yen offended Sui Sui today, that's why I couldn't help but take action." Lu Ye's tone remained calm. "Anyway, as long as I don't divorce Sui Sui for a day, she will still be my wife, the mother of Yun Yao and Yun Jin. Since when Yen calls me brother, I must respect my wife. She had already worked hard enough before. From now on, he will not let anyone hurt her again." After Lu Yi finished speaking, he glanced at Lu Wenyan, who was kneeling at the door with a disdainful expression. He didn't mean to cover up for Lu Wenyan and continued, "I just went to the hospital and saw him beating ears." "What?" Lu Zhenhua didn't even remember to wipe his tears. He stuffed the handkerchief into Lu Xiuyun's hand, picked up the broom and walked out, mercilessly drawing it onto Lu Wenyan's back. "I killed you, this bastard, and you actually hit your sister.in.law. No matter how good your sister.in.law is, it's also your sister.in.law. Are you a little uncle or a man? Do you still have the face to get angry when you hit your sister.in.law? I'll beat you to death." Lu Zhenhua gave Lu Wenyan a fierce beating. Lu Xiuyun was so scared on the side that she reached out and tightly grasped Lu Ye's sleeve. "Brother, Dad, he won't kill second brother, will he?" "I don't know." Lu Yi looked at the door with a calm expression. Lu Zhenhua was beating Lu Wenyan, and black clouds rolled in his deep eyes, showing no emotion. When it was almost time and Lu Zhenhua was constantly swinging his arm, Lu Yi finally spoke out. "Dad, that's enough." Lu Zhenhua replied without lifting his head, "It's not enough. This dog is not big or small. I'm used to living a good life and even dare to beat my sister.in.law. If I don't clean up and tidy him up today, will he also beat me and your mother another day?" "Dad." Lu Xiuyun also spoke out on the side, helping to speak. She was very anxious and dared not approach anyone. Lu Zhenhua was in a fit of anger. Whether it was Lu Ye's persuasion or Lu Xiuyun's persuasion, he did not stop. "Just beat him hard, he won't stop until he hits Lu Wenyan badly." Su Yuan, who was sleeping with the dragon and phoenix twins in the room, woke up from the moment Lu Wenyan let out a roar. She hasn't come out yet, and it's not easy for her to come out either. But now that Lu Wenyan has been beaten like this, if she doesn't come out to persuade him again, his second son may be killed. "Xiuyun's father, are you trying to kill the second son?" Su Yuan walked out of the room, anxious and panicked, with tears in her eyes. When speaking, the tone trembled slightly. Her health was not good, so even after sleeping, she looked very pale and could faint at any moment. Especially when she saw the blood on Lu Wenyan's back, Su Yuan's hands trembled and she was about to faint. Although Lu Zhenhua wanted to beat someone up, he couldn't really care about his old wife's health. "Xiaowan, don't worry. You're about to kill him, can I not be in a hurry?" "Mom." Lu Yi spoke out and gestured for Lu Xiuyun to help Su Yuan. Lu Xiuyun quickly nodded and walked over. "Mom, don't worry, take care of your body." "I'm fine." Su Yuan waved her hand and asked Lu Xiuyun to help her sit on a nearby stool. "Zhenhua, is there something you can't talk about properly? It's not right for Wen Yan to beat Lin Sui, but you can't beat him to death either. If you kill him, then how will he spread the word to our family then? Their old Lu family has lived in this alley for decades. If someone really knows that Lu Zhenhua killed Lu Wenyan, how can their family still have the face to live here?" Lu Zhenhua's hand paused for a moment. My gaze accidentally swept over the land inside the house. Lu Ye's expression was indifferent, with little fluctuation. But he knew that Lu Zhenhua was waiting for his statement. If he doesn't speak up, this matter won't be over tonight. Lu Yi came back to see the child. After taking a look at the child, he went back to the hospital to accompany Lin Sui. He has to return to the team at dawn and doesn't have that much time to spend here. Dad, it's not right for Wen Yen to offend Sui, but since you've been beating him for so long, let's forget about it. As long as he remembers that Sui is his sister.in.law in the future. Lu Ye's words are for Lu Zhenhua to step down. Otherwise, according to Lu Zhenhua's temperament, he might really want to beat up Lu Wenyan in front of him until he can't get out of bed tomorrow. He spoke up on his side, and Su Yuan also spoke out to advise. Lu Xiuyun also spoke out to advise, and then Lu Zhenhua stopped beating. But Lu Wenyan has already been torn apart. Lu Zhenhua shouted at him to roll back and lie down, and then he walked into the room with a whip. On Lu Ye's side, he entered the inner bedroom and glanced at the sleeping dragon and phoenix twins. He didn't wake them up, but reached out and gently touched their cheeks. The previous Lin Sui didn't like children, so even though she gave birth to twins, she took very little time with her. Plus, she has been working in a supply and marketing agency before, and her children are mostly taken care of by Lu Xiuyun and Su Yuan. The two children are not close to her. Or rather, they dare not get close to this mother who easily gets angry. Although Lu Yi is in the army, he naturally knows these things as he has been keeping an eye on his family's situation. But he knows that what happened before will not happen in the future. Yun Jin and Yun Yao's mother will love them both very much. Dad. Lu Yunyao secretly opened her eyes and saw Lu Yi sitting by the bed, her mouth soft and sticky. Her skin and facial features are mostly inherited from Lin Sui. Her porcelain white skin is tinged with powder, and her round face has childish features, which can already be seen as somewhat delicate. Growing up, she must be a beauty who never loses to her mother. Lu Yi let out a sigh. Extend your hand and say, do you want a hug? Hug. Lu Yunyao crawled out of the blanket, stepped out of her short legs and came to Lu Yi, reaching out to embrace him. The soft and fragrant little girl nestled in her arms, comforting her heart. Lu Yi touched the curled hair on her head with his big hand. Her hair was not very black, but very soft. The touch feels good. Lu Yi, this big man, is an iron-blooded man who doesn't even frown when bullets pass through his arms outside. Because of his soft daughter, his heart also melts into a puddle of water. He imprinted a shallow kiss on the hair of Lu Yunyao. When Mom comes back from the hospital, will Yao Yao go to Dad's place with her younger brother and Mom?